Hello, I'm Daniel. I just wanted to talk to you about a historical figure because I think his story can tell us something about ourselves. So, I'm going to tell you about a historical figure, so this is going to be kind of a storytelling thing. So, there was this monk in Korea in the 600s, and his name was Wonhyo. Wonhyo. And he is a revered figure in all of Korean Buddhism because he just wrote an incredible amount of commentaries. He translated a bunch of things. He traveled around lecturing endlessly, and he just really spread the teachings. And he spread this idea that is present in Korean Buddhism called one mind or one vehicle, and that's just to say Buddhism is good, meditation is good. We don't need to be so rigidly divided. Like, we can celebrate Buddhism in all its forms. And that was kind of the idea he popularized. And because of that, whereas in other countries Buddhism became like strictly and rigidly divided among different sects, in Korea it kind of blended together for many years. So in that sense, he was an important historical figure. And he also had the distinction of, at one point, he decided not to be a monk anymore, and he just taught as a regular person, and he just wore regular clothes, and he just went out to teach in the streets. He just went out to teach in public, to teach regular people, to teach anyone who would listen, rather than just teaching other monks, which was the normal thing to do at the time. And he distinguished himself by being kind of fun and entertaining, which was also then and now, it's not that common in Buddhism. He would sing songs and dance and do little plays and things like that. All things we don't really associate with Buddhism very much. So that's Wonhyo in a nutshell, and I'm going to tell you his origin story, and that's it. So Wonhyo was a young monk in Korea, and he and a friend decided they had to go to China. They wanted to go to China because not a lot of Buddhism had come to Korea. There weren't that many teachings available, so they thought, we'll just go to China. That's where most of this comes from. Well, it came from China. It came from India prior to that, but they thought, we'll just go to China. We can probably find the best and realest Buddhism there if we just go to China. So there's a lot of stories in Buddhism about like this, where an idealistic young monk decides they want to go find the older, better Buddhism because they think the older Buddhism is better and that it's degenerated. I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea, but there are a lot of stories like that. So Wonhyo and his friend, they go on this journey to China, and it's a long and treacherous journey. Like, they're walking, there's no vehicles or anything, so they're just walking, and they're poor monks. They don't have servants or anything, right? It's just the two of them. So they're going on this long journey. They're going to walk to China, and I guess in those days that probably didn't sound as crazy as it does now. But so they go, and on their journey, as they're traveling, they get caught in a terrible storm, terrible thunderstorm, and they look around for shelter, and they don't know what they're going to do. And it's nighttime, and they kind of want to sleep, and maybe sleep and let the storm pass. So they find this weird dark cave in a hillside, and they go in, and they think, well, we'll just try to sleep here, and we'll let the storm go by. And they do. They fall asleep. But in the middle of the night, Wonhyo wakes up, and he's just very thirsty. You ever wake up and you're very thirsty? He wakes up and he's very thirsty. And he kind of looks around a little bit, and he finds something round in the dark. Something round. And it's a gourd. He thinks it's a gourd. And apparently that was a thing they did in those days. You would collect water in a gourd, and you would drink it, and it would taste good. I should try that. But anyway, he drinks water out of this gourd, and then he thinks to himself, this is the best water I've ever tasted. I'm going to share this with my friend in the morning. This is the best water I've ever had. It's very cool and refreshing, and it's delicious. And he goes back to sleep. He wakes up in the morning. He and his friend wake up in the morning, and they see that this cave they've been in is a tomb. It's a tomb. They are surrounded by skeletons. This is probably a family tomb. Like, there's a lot of skeletons around. And Wonhyo looks down beside him, and he sees what he thought was a gourd is a skull. And it's full of dirty, disgusting, muddy water. And he throws up immediately. because he drank that dirty, disgusting water. But he also had this realization, this deep and profound, after he was done throwing up, he had this deep and profound realization that our reality is shaped by our perceptions. Our reality is shaped by our perceptions. So he thought he saw a gourd, and he picked it up and he drank from it. And it tasted like really good water from a gourd, not just because he was really thirsty, but also because he thought it was from a gourd, and he likes drinking from gourds. So what he got from the situation is what he thought he was going to get from the situation. He thought he was going to get tasty water, and he got tasty water, instead of tasting whatever mud water tastes like from a skull. And what does that tell us about ourselves? It tells us, if we really think about it, our expectations shape our reality a lot too. I found that if I'm really tired and I think I'm going to have a hard day at work, I have a hard day at work. Or if I go to a social situation with a crowd and I think I'm going to be uncomfortable, then I am. And I don't know, with those two things, I don't know how much of that is because I'm telling myself the way it's going to be, and how much of that is because things are the way they are. I don't know. And there's not a way to know, right? Hopefully, though, with our meditation practice, we'll learn more about our minds, and we'll learn more about the way we preconceive things, the baggage we bring into situations, the way our minds shape our experience, because that's what they do. Our minds shape our experience, and so much of our experience is shaped by what we expect. We make things the way we experience things the way we expect them to be, or at times we're disappointed when we expect something and it's not that way. That happens too. So much of our reality is shaped by our expectations. And my hope is that with our meditation practice, we'll learn how our minds work a little better, and we'll learn how to understand, I'm not thinking this because of anything but I have an expectation. And I could make this true if I'm not careful, right? We want that gap between our expectation and our experience so that we don't make it true. So that we don't make it true and make ourselves have a bad day. We want to be affirmative instead and say, I'm going to have a good day, and try to tell myself that, because we have that kind of control too. We can make our day better by expecting our day to be better. And if we can learn how to do that, we're going to be in really good shape. And I've got to finish Wonhyo's story because I didn't. He had this realization of how much power he had over his perception. And it's said that he attained enlightenment, and he decided he was not going to be a monk anymore. He was not going to even go to China. He was going to go back home, and he was going to not be a monk anymore. He ended up getting married. He ended up finding a wife and getting married, which monks didn't do in those days. And he just traveled around trying to spread awakening to people. And he tried to reach regular people, which in that time and place, and maybe now too, I don't know how many people are reached by monks and how many people would be more able to be reached by someone who sings and dances in the street. So that's my talk on Wonhyo. I hope you liked it. Thank you for watching.